All right, now this one is just a little bit close to home because it has to do with the Chicago Bulls. Now, many of you may or may not seen this, but after the Bulls blew like a 10-point lead with like 2 minutes to go in the game against Atlanta, I was at home watching that game like when I got off work, and I sat and I watched that game, and I'm like, yo, is this really happening right now? This cannot be happening. But after that game, Jimmy Butler and Dwayne Wade both talked to the media. Butler, I'm paraphrasing here. Butler basically just said, a lot of guys come in here and it's like they don't care. If you come in here and you have a game, especially a game like this, and you don't care, you should be pissed off. And he said, I want to play with guys that actually care, that want to do well for this organization and stuff like that. And he just went on and on about that. It wasn't that long. Dwayne Wade was more so like, look, what I'm seeing, man, I'm not liking what I'm seeing. I'm sitting here and guys just don't seem to either get it, they don't care. He's just like, man, I'm to the point where I can't care for these guys too much anymore. I shouldn't be caring more than they should for them and stuff like that. And that right there, it kind of started like this whole big deal. So Rajon Rondo took to Instagram, and he had a lot to say about that. And I'm gonna read this pretty much. I'm not gonna read it word for word, but for the most part, he just said like, my vets would never go to the media. They would come to the team. My vets didn't pick and choose when they wanted to bring it. They brought it every time, stepped in the gym, whether it was practice or a game. He said they didn't take days off. Wow, there's a lot of shots fired. He's just saying, man, they didn't care about their numbers. They played for the team. When they lost, they wouldn't blame us. They took responsibility. They showed that, the young guys what it meant to work. They didn't have any influence on the coaching staff. They wouldn't change up the plan when it didn't work for them. He said, I played under one of the greatest coaches, and he held everybody accountable. He said it takes 1 through 15, which that means every player. He said, when you isolate everyone, you can't win consistently. He said, I may be a lot of things, but I'm not a bad teammate. My goal is to pass along what I've learned. He said the young guys work, they show up, they don't deserve blame. If anything is questionable, he said it's the leadership. I was like, yo, you know what? It's 100% fact. I was with Rondo on that one. Now, I'm a Dwayne Wade fan. I respect him, respect what he's done for the league. I like Jimmy Butler, but it's some things that he does. And when he said something about the influence on the coaches, I've seen Jimmy Butler blatantly just disregard something that Fred Hoiberg has told him. And it just recently happened in the last game that they just lost. I seen Fred Hoiberg tell him, said, after this free throw, call timeout. I looked at Jimmy Butler's face, and he looked over at the guy like, what? And kind of like waved off like, man, I ain't doing this shit. He proceeded to go down the court, hit a shot that put them back up by like 1 or whatever. And then he kind of glanced over at him like, see, your shit ain't working. So this does happen. And the stuff that Rondo said about, his veterans, showing up every night, not taking days off, that's a direct shot at Wade, because Wade doesn't play back-to-backs. If the Bulls play like two straight games, like a back-to-back game, Wade's not playing in one of them. He's not playing in that second game of a back-to-back. So I did see that. I went on record, and if any of you all are familiar with the Triple Threat sports podcast I do with Ace and Siggy, we do that. Most of the time we stream it on my Twitch channel. We talk about this stuff. I remember saying this like almost a year ago. I went on record. I remember before, right after they got rid of Tom Thibodeau, I was like, what they're trying to do? They're trying to get Hoiberg. It's like we all knew that, because John Paxson, who's a former Bulls player, he's the president of basketball operations. And Gar Forman, who's the general manager, he's an Iowa State guy, so you know how that goes, the whole clique thing. So I knew they were going after Fred Hoiberg. And I said this before. I said, that coach will not last in this league because he has a passive style. That's not the coach for this team. So what happens? They ended up firing Thibodeau. They ended up firing Tibbs. They brought in Hoiberg. No sooner than they got him, Jimmy Butler went on record saying like, yo, this dude not holding people accountable, you know, because those guys are used to working hard, man. They used to being pushed. And one of the reasons why they were pissed off at that whole situation was because Thibodeau he didn't play the young guys that much. He didn't really play McDermott, so they were pissed about that. He didn't really play this guy, and they were pissed about that. So my thing is, they pissed about that, but when you look at what's going on now, Hoiberg is kind of doing the same thing. He doesn't play Bobby Portis hardly at all. I've been saying that they needed to get rid of Mirotić. They need to get rid of Mirotić, man. I'm sorry. He is just god awful. He is terrible. Please trade that dude. They traded away one of the guys that actually could shoot on the team, which was Tony Snell, and brought in Michael Carter-Williams, another guard that can't shoot. The RJ Stevens guy that they picked up from Boston, he doesn't even get in the game, and he's probably next to McDermott, probably the second best shooter on the team. So I don't know what's going on with that, man. But I will say this: look, with this, the deal with this coaching thing, they brought in Fred Hoiberg, which was the altogether wrong move. The altogether wrong move. I always felt, in my personal opinion, that Mark Jackson would have been the perfect fit for the Chicago Bulls, because look at what he did with Golden State. Bunch of unproven guys, a couple veterans on the team here and there sprinkled around, and he made that team relevant again. And of course, look what Steve Kerr came in. Once he came in right after him, picked up the pieces, they were a championship team. I think Mark Jackson could have done the exact same thing for the Chicago Bulls, because at the beginning of last season, they were listed as the number 2 ranked team in the East behind Cleveland. They were like the team that could have possibly beat Cleveland, or at least gave them a good series in the conference finals, and that would have been, you know, extended a good rivalry or something like that. But instead, they brought in an unproven college coach because the general manager is boys with him, or whatever, got some boyhood crush on him, or what. I don't know what the deal is with that. But as we can all see, that's just going down the drain, and this team just sucks, man. Let's just call it what it is. This team just sucks. And I'll touch on this before I go. Dwayne Wade, he will be retiring in a couple of years, but Jimmy Butler still has to be there unless they decide to trade him. It wouldn't surprise me if they did, and it wouldn't surprise me if they didn't. But Butler still has to be here. And my thing with that is that the stigma you want? Is that the label you want put on you, that to you know, attract a possible free agent? That, look, if I'm not playing good, especially a young free agent, if I'm not playing good, is this guy gonna go in on me and go to the media and talk shit about me or whatever? That's gonna detract a lot of players from wanting to play with them. So Butler needs to be careful and pick and choose his words wisely. So for that being, you know, with that being said, we all know that Rondo was not a good fit. And Rondo, although I felt like his comments were 100% accurate, and I wasn't mad at him for saying it, I just felt like he was somewhat of a hypocrite, because he went public and had his own little press conference before a shoot around when he got benched. So my thing is, of course, it's not as severe because other players are calling out teammates and stuff, but you are doing kind of like the same thing, calling out the organization and the, you know, and the coaching staff. So Rondo needs to be careful, because if you get into it with this guy, and you got into it with this guy, now you got into it with this guy, I hope he got his passport updated, yo, because that dude gonna be playing in China or some shit, man, because he kind of blackballing himself on top of things. So hopefully that's not the case, because I like Rondo, but this whole situation with the Bulls, man, is crazy. So let me know what y'all think in the comment section, man. Y'all agree with me? Y'all don't? Either way I go, the Bulls are terrible. I'm out. Peace.